The Department of Motor Vehicles has not been providing the residents of Connecticut stellar customer service for quite some time. My constituents are frustrated and some are angry. I have received dozens of official complaints, and when I'm in my district, DMV is always at the top of the list of issues that my constituents want to discuss. This is what, in part, prompted me to submit a bill to privatize services at DMV. I've included in my testimony a number of backup documents and data, so I won't read all of it. I'll skip around so that you can I can answer questions if you have any. DMV and AAA share service areas in Old Saybrook, Waterbury, Danbury, Hampden, Stamford, and Milford. These overlap areas could be used in a pilot program to expand opportunities at AAA potentially. AAA revenue towards DMV total budget revenue had only 1% growth in 2015 over 2014. And in your packet, you have in front of you the annual receipts of DMV in total for 2015, and I would point you to the AAA offices of 4%. I have 2014 with me, and in that time it was only 3% of the total revenue that has been taken in. So a 1% growth year after year. As stated during the current budget adjustment subcommittee process that I participate in, Commissioner Murphy believes that AAA would be able to handle simple CDL renewals and CDL duplicates. The simple addition to add CDL licensing would be a pro-business initiative that would lessen the bottleneck at DMV branches and allow more flexibility for commercial drivers. DMV offers a small range of license and vehicle services online. This is to make for a more efficient process without having to stand in line for hours. However, the Internet Registration Renewal Program has only grown 1% year after year. That data is also in your handout. How can this be? This tells me that this agency is struggling to utilize the very services that taxpayers have invested millions of dollars in, and I believe one of the reasons is because of public communications about the types of services available have not been robust from the agency. In fact, legislators are not even briefed to share this information with their constituents, and only upon my prompting was it shared with me just a few weeks ago. This is another indicator that more needs to be done to improve the efficiency of this agency. On top of all these long-standing issues, we know that there has been data problems, including over 86,000 vehicle registration errors and much more, as I've outlined. Finally, after reviewing the report submitted to the Transportation Subcommittee dated January 11, 2012, I found many areas which support the suggestion of further privatization efforts. One topic covered in this report was the ability for the towns to issue a 10-day temporary registration after a resident has paid back taxes. And I'm summarizing, I apologize. Unfortunately, after confirming this today with my local assistant town clerk, it still hasn't happened. It's another example of frustration. Instead, this year, we may be settling for yet another study to see if a municipal program can be developed. We already had information given in 2012 that it can be. And I summarize with the following statement included in this privatization report issued in 2012, which says, these new AAA services will further allow DMV customers to be served at off-site locations, thereby enhancing customer service, reducing wait times at DMV branches. State statute allows for registration transactions and at AAA and other associations. However, such transactions have not yet been developed. Isn't it time that we direct DMV to do what it's been promising since 2012? I appreciate you hearing my concerns, and I very much appreciate you hearing testimony on this bill today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Senator Leone asked you earlier how would a private company handle complaints. Well, how do you believe the DMV has handled complaints thus far? Has it been quick and efficient?
No, again, my purpose for raising this bill was, in fact, I have received dozens and dozens of official complaints. One of my constituents had been wrongfully accused of not having insurance, and it was only after writing the commissioner, after getting nowhere over the phone, that she finally started to get some response. And then after she contacted my office, we were able to utilize the legislative liaison process that all of you are familiar with. And, you know, again, and they do a great job, but the process is almost like set up against customers. I come from a customer service background. I was in the restaurant business before I got here at the legislature. And, you know, if I provided terrible customer service and the chef did not provide a good meal, they just didn't come back. Our residents don't have that choice. They are forced to deal with DMV, and they're forced to endure whether it's misinformation that they receive online, or just yesterday, our boating community was just told that they may in fact have to re-license their motorcraft and vessels. So unfortunately, in the private world, if your customer service is not at the standard you believe it should be, you find someplace else to go, and taxpayers in the state don't have that option with DMV.
Thank you for that answer. So, you know, the DMV is supposed to be accountable to the taxpayers, and I'm just curious as to who you think the DMV currently thinks they're accountable to, because based on your answer and based on my experiences that I've had with DMV complaints from my constituents, it doesn't really seem like the DMV feels like it's accountable to our residents, to our taxpayers. So I didn't know if you had shared those sentiments or wanted to comment on that.
So, as I stated in my earlier testimony, the complaints are just part of the reason. What really got me interested in this topic was my experience in last year's budget cycle. For those who are not on the Appropriations Committee, there's a subcommittee process where the commissioner and his staff come in to talk about that portion of the budget. And when the commissioner and his staff came in last year to talk about this portion of the budget, I asked them to talk to me about the AAA services and if, in fact, they could save any money or increase customer service. And I have a written response at that time last year that they had no information, and in fact, it would not decrease the issues at DMV. Lo and behold, this year, the commissioner is stating otherwise. So it was my experiences last year that started me in this quest to understand more of what's going on. And unfortunately, I don't feel that they feel like they're necessarily accountable to anybody, but I'm accountable to my constituents, and they should be accountable to the taxpayers of this state, and that's what I'm looking to do with the concept of this bill.